U.S. flies nuclear-capable bombers amid tensions with North Korea. We've been updating this over the last few months, all of the kind of tit-for-tats that have been going on with North Korea, South Korea, and of course the U.S. since we are involved and we've been doing these drills. To me, it's been crazy for the last 5 years. It seems that they are almost always doing a drill. It seems like they're actually preparing for something at this point because they have not stopped these things once since T-Man was in office. It said that out of South Korea, the United States flew nuclear-capable B-52 bombers to the Korean Peninsula again on Wednesday in a show of strength against North Korea amid concerns that the North might conduct a nuclear test. The long-range bombers took part in joint aerial drills with the U.S. and South Korean fighter jets over the Korean Peninsula. South Korea's defense ministry said that it was the first deployment of U.S. B-52 bombers to the peninsula in a month. The drills show a strong resolve of the South Korea-U.S. alliance and its perfect readiness to respond to any provocation by North Korea swiftly and overwhelmingly. That was, of course, Lieutenant General Park Ha-sik, commander of the South Korean Air Force. One thing I want to point out, though, is so say something really did go down. Have we really shown that we are actually going to make a decision and come in firing and bang bangs ablazing? Or would there be bureaucracy and would they get stopped up by, oh, should we do something? Should we not? Maybe we should sanction them. This is a hermit nation. There's pretty much nothing you can really do to hurt them. They already get their money from basically every other way besides public and world trade, other than the adversaries that hate us already. So how do you really stop something like this happening unless you do go in there, ablazing? We'll talk about this and much more tonight. We're going to talk about Russia, UKR, and everything else that's going on in between, including all the stuff that's going on around the world. So we'll be right back right after this for Marfoogle TV. We'll be right back. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today, we're going to go over a ton of stuff in a short amount of time. So I do want to remind you, if you are new here, remember to go over to marfooglenews.com and find a full bibliography for every single article, tweet, video, picture, document. Please forgive me today. I am still getting off of a sickness, and again, it has just been like rotating around, and it just keeps feeling like I'm getting better, and then I'm not. Now I'm having sinus issues, so if I talk funny today, I apologize, and thank you for your patience. In the trench, if you look at our website, it's very easy to navigate. All you have to do is find today's thumbnail, Finland in the near future, in the trench. So Finland has not publicly put trenches in their on their border. That is a prediction I will be talking about later. And we're going to talk about much, much more today. And if you want to find and follow along, you can go over to the website. You'll see that every single article, tweet, video, picture, document is available. So you can actually grab a second device or a tablet and you can follow along. Or if we don't cover the whole article and it's fascinating and you want to read more, you know where to get it. The show notes right down below is where you get that link. And that is pretty much on every platform. The link is going to be right below me in some place or other. Let's also bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on and how are you doing today?
Hello, Adam, and hello, Fugle fam. I'm doing just fine.
Just a quick reminder, there is also going to be, we're going to talk about this at the very end, but there is a overflow section. All of the stuff that could not fit into the show, that will be down at the very bottom. There is a lot of other news, really great stuff. We'll talk about that at the very end. And then marfooglenews.com/friends. Go check out and thank the mods in this way. Go over and subscribe to them. They're great people. They are in the chat trying to make it a peaceful place right now, so make sure to go and say hello. Back to this first story. So the B-52s, it's pretty clear that they don't really care. If this was somebody we were afraid of, I don't think they would do that. It's kind of a flashy show of strength. They always say it's a show of strength when they do these things. At one point, though, basically Kim Jong-un or the clone or whoever is running that country, they always say that they believe they are trying to take them out and that these are rehearsals to invade and take them completely out of the picture. If they haven't already, and secretly 3-letter agencies are running the place. Who knows? But as far as the B-52 bombers, with what North Korea has been doing or supposedly doing, this is getting kind of freaky. They are potentially mobilizing thousands of troops. They're potentially mobilizing gear and weapons and artillery. And, of course, their old school jets and everything else that they have. And supposedly they have been very, very active. So something may be going on here. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Dex, as far as flying the B-52s, we always cover all of the little kind of tit for tat things that happen with North Korea. This is something that, one of these days they could literally launch something and just wipe them off the map. Who knows, though?
Well, I guess we're piling it on because yesterday we just talked about the fact that they were on the first day of a 2-day drill going after subs, and it was all about underwater exploration and discovery and operations and tracking the submarine devices or the drone devices that are underwater. And then today we're flying B-52s above them, or not above them, but into the peninsula, probably over SK's airspace, I'm sure, but still another poke at the bear, so to speak, or the hermit, so to speak. So yeah, we're any moment now we're going to get something in return. There will be. We know it happens. This is exactly what goes on. We knew something would go on with these drills. We thought it was just the submarine drills, but now they're flying these over. So that's going to obviously continue to provoke him, and he'll continue to provoke us and SK by continuing to do what he does. So it's this vicious circle. Somebody will probably get off of the circle at some point, but let's hope that when that happens, it's not because they actually do something that kicks off an event, which is likely to happen if they keep doing this.
We can call it a jab at the crab, right? The hermit crab. So take a jab at the crab instead of a poke at the bear. So with North Korea too, they have, if you were here last week when we covered that, they're saying that essentially they got this design or the underwater nuke. Russia gave them the ability to have a super EMP weapon. We know this because Russia admitted it, and this was a few years back. And what's scary is they said, well, they either got it from us or we gave it to them. They didn't clarify how, but they said, yes, those are our designs for a super EMP. Now they say they have this, this radioactive tsunami making submarine submersible thing. So that's kind of freaky because many people don't think Russia would actually use that thing. But what if it was NK? What if it was North Korea that actually did? Who would we be able to respond to? We would only be able to respond to North Korea. And maybe they have already accepted that at some point they'll be wiped off the map. Who knows? I've tweeted a lot of different leaders from different countries that are now siding with Russia's side on this, and it's really kind of freaky to see the South African president. It was kind of an update to what we talked about with the ICC warrant on Putin. That's on my Twitter. You should go over at Marfoogle and make sure it's the checkmark verified one, so you know it's me. But as far as like the Putin had this ICC, the International Criminal Court warrant, and he was heading to South Africa to meet the leaders there. And everybody questions, since South Africa actually finds the ICC warrant valid, if they were going to do their duty and snatch him up and turn him over to the ICC. Well, he went on a public, press conference and said, no, not only are we going to, we're going to pick him up at the airport, we're going to do our business, and then we're going to take him right back, and we're going to make sure he's absolutely safe. We're going to protect him. And then he goes in and talks about how essentially that two of our former presidents admitted that Gaddafi and Hussein were both mistakes. I do think about, like, how do they think of it as the less powerful rulers of the planet? What do they think? Like, if they do the wrong thing, that actual person, if they're a president of a smaller country or of a less powerful country, they probably think, like, I could be taken out in this way, right? If I don't follow the line, right? So I just think it's kind of crazy what is happening right now. Everybody is picking sides. They are now setting up World War III, and it's pretty clear to see. I think it's very clear that this is all happening, and there is a lot of information and a lot of people that are so in a cluster of information that they are basically saying it's all distraction and it's actually for this. All of this, the other things you think it's a distraction to, those things are all happening too. All of the agendas that they are, have slated for the next 10 years, those are all going to happen as well. It's like the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think that was I don't think that was a coincidence they named it that. I think they're talking about what's about to happen. But anyways, so yeah, crazy stuff going on all over the world. Thank you guys. By the way, before the show even started, a few people popped in with super chats. Thank you guys. I really appreciate your support. Thank you for supporting independent. To Harvey77, thank you. Says, I made it live. Woohoo. Always listen the next day at work. Thanks for all you do. Well, thank you to Harvey, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate everybody that listens the next day. Dawn's Ulcer. Love that name. That's hilarious. Thank you so much for your support. Brian Tisdale says, let's go Marf. Thank you. I appreciate that. And Sloan did a $100 super chat. You don't have to do that. Thank you so much. It is much appreciated. And thank you for supporting independent. But again, it could have just as well been a $10 super chat and, spread it over 12 shows or something. You don't have to do crazy things like that. Thank you so much, though. And it is much appreciated. If you do, though, anything over like $4, you can write. The more that you do, the more you can write. And if you, one thing I don't get is if people don't write a message there, you utilize it. I like to read what you guys are saying, or if you have shout outs of local businesses, or, just let me know. And then Finland has set itself up to be the trigger. 55 F-15s, 60 plus F-35s, as yet not delivered a large amounts of reserves. What more do the Cabal need? Light touch paper, says Lord McCormick. Yeah, Finland, I think, was a big key in this whole thing. Since the beginning, they said, if Finland and Sweden join, that's going to piss them off. Now they have 810 more miles on their border of NATO. They're going to be pissed. They are pissed. And then Zen1AZ says, just listening tonight. Much love, Fugle fam. Well, thank you, and thank you. And then K. Parker Fraser says, blessings all. Thank you guys all for doing that before the show even really started. So thank you. And then new images from inside Fukushima reactor spark safety worry. Dex, do you want to go over why people are concerned about this?
Well, obviously, this reactor has had a lot of damage from that tsunami and the earthquake that happened. It's been quite a while now since that event happened. But they've been testing or sending these robots in underwater into checking things. They've constantly been looking at things. And one of the things they found, or they, I guess, are releasing today, or they're talking about today, I think they found it at the end of last month, at end of March, was that one of the pedestals, one of the big concrete structures in there, has significant damage on it near the bottom, and it's exposing the steel reinforcement, and it's causing questions to whether or not the facility can withstand another tremor if there's another quake in that area. So they're trying to figure out what they need to do next. They're going to continue to evaluate it. And now that they found this particular area that could be a problem, they're going to inspect it further and see if there's something they can do to shore it up. But obviously, if another quake happened and it collapsed, then that would cause an even greater problem for this. I assume this is in the water that's exposed, obviously, to all of that radiation. The pool that's in that one reactor, or the particular reactor that they're talking about here. So, scary incident back when it happened. Still going on in the sense that it's not like everything is perfect and recovered and everything works. That's not the case. I do know that they did allow people back into the areas recently. They, in the last few years, they've had various areas that were cordoned off, and now some of that was safely evaluated. And then they've also had talks about releasing water. Some of the water they've released into the Pacific. That's been done a few times. And that's often something that people don't really like, although I'm sure they think they're doing the right thing when they're doing it. But yeah, Fukushima is still in the news and still relevant, especially if something could happen in that area seismically, which that area is prone.
Or if they have another subduction zone type thing, then it would be really, really bad. Reminder, the 9+ earthquake that they had, no one knew was possible. At that time, they had built all of their structures to like an 8.2 or 8.3 rule. Basically, they said, buildings won't be built unless they are built to withstand an 8-point-something earthquake. They had no idea. They knew they could get 8-pointers. They had no idea that there was any chance of a 9.0 earthquake happening. And every point is exponential, and anything over 7 is just astronomical. Anything over 6 is big, but when you get up to 7, the difference between that 1 point, it literally goes up exponentially. The difference between 7 and 8, it's like 1,000 times stronger, and then you take that strength, and then from 8 to 9, it's that times 1,000. So it's really insane to think the earthquake they had, and we all remember when that wave came in. It was something out of a movie. I think most of you probably know exactly where you were in 2011 when that earthquake happened. It was unbelievable. I mean, I was watching it on TV at a bar waiting for my food, and I was thinking, holy crap. I didn't think it was real. I thought it was I remember people saying, is that a preview for a disaster movie? Seeing a huge giant, the first shots I saw was, now has been seen a million times, but one of those huge cargo ships like floating sideways over onto the land. I mean, that just was something that's so crazy to even think about that was real. And anybody that experienced that, which I've talked to Chris Goldfinger, who was there for that, and he said it was surreal. A reminder, Chris Goldfinger is an expert on the Cascadia subduction zone earthquake that is going to happen here. We're going to have a Japan earthquake that bad right off the West Coast, and that is going to hit. That is going to be the worst disaster the United States has ever seen. Just under a nuke hitting like major, 10 cities. It is going to create a tsunami that's equivalent or larger than that because it's actually closer, and it's 700 miles from the beginning of Canada to the beginning of California. So all of those states will all have simultaneously a 9.0 earthquake. It's not like this place will have 9.0, this will have 8.3, this place, 200 miles will have a 7. It's going to be a 9.0 earthquake for the entire United States West Coast. It's going to be insane. But when he was there, what is something to think about, and anybody on the West Coast, watch your watch if you think about it. The thing is that he was at a actual conference with a bunch of other seismic experts, and they know basically everything about earthquakes, and everybody was calm. They said for the first minute and a half, 2 minutes, everybody was just sitting there like they didn't even leave. They weren't evacuating. The first 2 minutes of the quake, everybody was like, haha, yeah, whatever. They didn't care because they've been through so many, right? But once they saw it get past, I think it was 2 or 3 minutes, they realized that once the minutes correlate with how big the earthquake is. And once it gets past a certain time, they're like, whoa, this is getting into the 7s and 8s. Then they realized it was bad. It was something over a 5-minute quake. I mean, think about how long that is. If you've ever microwaved something and been impatiently hungry waiting for 5 minutes, it's not a lot of time, but when the world underneath you is shaking, I could not imagine. The quake that happened in Nisqually that I went through, which was horrific, like horrible, scary as hell. That one was like 20 seconds or 25 seconds or 30 seconds or something like that. If it was even a couple points higher at a 7.0, it would have been a minute, and it would have destroyed the waterfront in Seattle. Now think of that times like 10,000. Then you have a 9.0 earthquake. This is something that gets put to the back burner for a lot of people. And the West Coast people, my West Coast friends here, you guys should all have it preparing, whether there's an SHTF situation or not, you should prepare for an earthquake. Earthquake is kind of like death in humans. Up until the last second when we die, we somehow think that it's not going to happen to us. It's just like death. Like we don't think, we put it out of our mind that it's not going to happen, but it will. And it's not going to be foretold. It's not going to, you're not going to know before it happens. The quake alert stuff, that's like 10 seconds warning or something, maybe if that, 5 seconds. And that might be enough to like jump over to a doorway, but people should have food, water, all sorts of things, especially in the West Coast. Especially if they're talking about Japan. When we have the Cascadia subduction zone, the reason we know that they confirmed the 1700 Cascadia subduction zone where the whole landmass snapped is because the tsunami went all the way back over to Japan. So they might even be thinking about the Cascadia happening here and that affecting them over there in Japan. They had absolute records of it, and that also coincided with the ground and everything they found in the soil here, and even the tales by the Native Americans here in the United States. It's really fascinating stuff. Make sure to watch some of my older videos on it. It's pretty cool. Well, it's not cool. It's not cool when it happens, but it is definitely, it's something that if you're interested in that stuff, you will have days of content to watch. Elon Musk isn't the only billionaire to try and build his own town. From Bill Gates to Peter Thiel, here's a list of the super rich who have attempted to build utopias. So the first kind of piece of this article is something we've already covered. In fact, let's see here. So Musk, of course, we've talked about how they're describing their vision of a sort of Texas utopia along the Colorado River. We've talked about that one. But some of the other ones, little known ones, these are billionaires that are actually making their own towns. It says in 2021, Billionaire announced his plans to create a new city called Starbase in Boca Chica. And this was, again, 350 miles of Snailbrook. While SpaceX employees have taken over much of Boca Chica, it's unclear whether Musk ever fully established the city. So that was that one. Let's go over. I'm trying to find the next one. Let's see here. And it says from Silicon Valley elite like Peter Thiel, who has expressed plans to make their own utopias, to entrepreneurs like Dan Gilbert and Kevin Plank, who have focused on revitalizing existing cities. Some of the most powerful people in the world have sought to create their own communities over the years. It said in 2021, former Walmart CEO Mark Lohr announced plans to build a futuristic utopia called Telosa. It says the name Telosa comes from an ancient Greek word meaning highest purpose. If that's not creepy, right? To build a town and name it the highest purpose. Like, that's not culty or anything. It says at a time, Lohr said he wanted to build an egalitarian utopia that about 50,000 people could call home by as soon as 2030. Lohr has said that the city would be governed by equitism, which appears to be a mix of equality and capitalism. Okay, so Dex, one thing I thought about when I read this is, does he know something we don't? How is his town that already exists going to work on its own kind of governmental system unless something collapses to where they can have their own towns after everything collapses, right? Or their own rules. Doesn't that sound kind of weird that they said this kind of stuff?
It certainly does. I mean, to the extent that they can create their own ordinances and or laws, if you want to call it that, in their cities when they build them, whoever runs and manages the city can do that, and based on however they configure it or set it up. Yeah, but it's kind of creepy.
Yeah, for sure. And he said that Tolosa would be built in the desert, but did not specify the exact location. The city would offer its citizens equal access to education, healthcare, and transportation. So another thing too is if they know of some sort of coming disaster, just hypothetically, why? Another thing you notice is a lot of them are picking it out in the boonies or in the middle of the country or in the desert. Don't they believe all of this stuff about, we're going to have desalination plants all over the coast to survive because we'll run out of everything? And is there something that these guys know that we don't? Why are they building their own cities? Why do they want to control areas like this other than the, just sheer want of power? And then billionaire venture capitalist Peter Thiel also had a plan for a utopian city. In 2008, Thiel launched a mission to develop a floating city called Seastead that would operate independently from existing nations as a small, self-sufficient island. The billionaire investor said that the city would be libertarian and an escape from politics in all its forms, and launched the Seasteading Institute with Google software engineer Patrick Friedman in 2008. The group made early strides in planning to build the inorganic detachable island chain off of the French Polynesia and had an initial agreement with the country. But the government said in 2018 that its contract with the Seasteading Institute had become obsolete and does not bind the country in any way. So this thing was already in the process, and they're essentially saying, nope, we're not going to do it. I wonder if somebody was behind them not doing it. It's actually kind of a lovely plan, or at least by description, it sounds like it. They're saying, free of politics. Who wouldn't want to live on an island that you could live with all your friends and not talk about the left versus right paradigm for 10 minutes? Sounds kind of great. Maybe that's actually one of the good ones. Who knows? But I highly doubt it. In Saudi Arabia, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman is constructing a city named The Line. Now, this one is one of the freakiest. We've shown you pictures of this. Dex, do you remember the Line city? It's like the Great Wall, but it has a city inside the line. Do you?
Yes. Yeah, I remember we showed that one.
They've already started construction on this. It is going to have a mirror surface on the outside. So when you look at the desert, you're going to see an exact reflection like a big mirror, almost looking like the desert keeps going. But in the middle, there's going to be however tall. I don't think it even says how tall, but it's going to be set of 2-mile-long skyscrapers. So they're going to be skyscraper height, miles long, and it's going to have a city inside this thin little thing. So the city will be like the French Quarter or something, but inside, and there will be housing all along this with decks looking in on the thing and windows looking out towards the desert. They're going to put special windows and make it so that the heat, that it's like an ecological system inside, that it will be able to have all of this stuff. And it's going to be this huge wall. This is like insanity. This is what the people with the most money in the world are doing right now. They're making their own private, cities for whoever they want to have in them, right? So pretty trippy. It says Neom is intended to house millions of people, the majority of whom will live on the line, a set of 2 parallel 75-mile, and I didn't, 75 miles long. I mean, think about it. That's farther than the eye can see, and you will literally see a wall, just a wall for as far as you can see, that will house residences and facilities. Dex, could we get a picture of the beginning of the construction of this? Because this is real. This is happening. They are actually spending the money on this. It will include a high-speed train, sports stadium, and a yacht marina. Which one thing I don't understand, that must be at one end of it, because if you see the pictures, it doesn't look like there's any water anywhere near. But that must have been. It must be. The wall must go from water to somewhere else, and you can pull into this city and then go in it. And then Bill Gates invested about $80 million into plans for a smart city outside of Phoenix, Arizona. It makes you wonder if, like, the Navy map, the old Navy map of where the water is taking over, half of the country, not because of that thing, but some other huge disaster. It makes you think, like, is that why they're buying up the farmland? Is that why they're buying up all this land in the Midwest? Who knows? The subsidiary of Gates investment firm bought land in southwestern Arizona for the construction of a 24,800-acre development consisting of residences, public schools, office, commercial, and retail space, AZ Central reported. At the time, the plan was 80,000 homes to be built, with 3,800 acres reserved for industrial, office, and retail space. 3,400 acres for open space and 470 acres dedicated to public schools. The local news outlet said that the publication said that the city would be known as Belmont. I'm just curious. I'm actually curious what if there's a. Thank you, Dex. I wonder what the definition of Belmont is. Right. Wonder if there's any funky. Let's see here. Let's go to DuckDuckGo real quick. Belmont meaning. Let's see here. Alva Erskine Vanderbilt, women's rights activist and socialite. Belmont, a town in Massachusetts near Boston, a city in West. U.S. financier, diplomat, and horse racing enthusiast born in Germany. I wonder what that person, August Belmont. So I wonder if you could break it down. Bell and Mont, right? Yeah, that would be like a Joseph Newhouse kind of thing. If you find anything interesting, Joseph, let me know. All right, and then here's a picture of the line. This is insanity. Check this out. Look at this thing. And this is obviously a graphic of what it's supposed to look like, right? And that makes sense. So on one end of it or on multiple parts of it, it's going to go across waters and you're going to have these marinas. And then of course it's like a mirror. I mean, what crazy time are we living in right now? And I have one more picture here, so let me put this up here. This is so nuts. Dex, what other reason do you think they could be making these cities? I mean, this is just out of a movie. This is straight up, we're living a movie right now.
Well, it certainly follows some of the agenda topics that are out there, using that buzzword that goes along with that same year that they had talked about earlier, F20 and 30. So, yeah, there could be a lot of reasons, but it just seems like a lot of these go hand in hand with that, outside of maybe like the Peter Thiel floating thing, or, I think one of these is Larry Ellison's private island, which, was interesting too, but it's not necessarily something he's building for everyone. He's being more selfish with that. But the other one, and we'll get to in just a moment, is the one that EpiPen was involved in.
Yeah, so check this one out. So hold on. Let me go back to this real quick. This is just nuts. Let's see. Larry Ellison, that's the island. Let's see here.
Victoria's Secret.
Yeah, Victoria's Secret and Bath and Body Works billionaire Les Wexner. What a name. Les Wexner. Les Wexner. What a... Just pretend... You just think that a Les Wexner is just going to ride up on a horse and be like, I'm better than you. I'm Les Wexner. Wexner decided to build his country home in New Albany, Ohio in the 1980s, since he's built two of his own 30-room mansion in the community and acquired 10,000 acres of land around it, buying up the entire town, Bloomberg reported. Over the past 40 years, he's developed the town, constructing rows of Georgia-style brick mansions that are virtually identical. The publication said that he spends his Saturday mornings driving around to make sure everything is, quote, remaining true to his original vision. It says Jeffrey EpiPen reportedly had a hand in helping the billionaire create the town and invested millions of dollars into the project, New York Magazine reported in 2019. Today, the median household income in New Albany is over $200,000, and the town has a population of about 11,000. The median listing price for the homes in town is over $500,000. So, Dex, what does it make you wonder? Like, there's a lot of rumors that EpiPen is still around. Do you think he's like in a private neighborhood of all of his friends in this town that's basically has its owner driving around to make sure there's nobody driving down the prices? I mean, this is kind of nuts.
For the safety of a lot of people, I hope he's not.
Yeah, well, it's an all-adult town, hopefully. Yeah, so, but yeah, this is nuts. Like, there's so many, this is so above, and it's rare for us to even hear about this kind of stuff because they're doing all of these kind of things all the time. There's companies that make these $2 billion super crazy submarines, like bigger than a military submarine, even as big as 700-800 feet. These are being made for billionaires like Elon Musk, and they're so secretive that they don't even put these on paper. The companies don't even, list their clients. It's so crazy that once they get past a certain amount of money, people don't even know how rich they are. I don't think Elon Musk has ever been the richest man. I don't think Bezos has. I know they haven't. When you're talking about oil money, think about how much these oil tycoons were making per day. I mean, we're talking about millions of dollars per second. There's no way that there's not an oil tycoon that is richer than any person on earth. But they, in whatever country wherever they are, they don't have to declare how rich they are. Do you guys think that Elon Musk is truly the richest man in the world? Or do you think that the richest man or woman in the world doesn't have their name on a piece of paper because they're that rich? They say that no one's above the law. That is bull. You guys know what I'm saying. And then a Navy carrier-based drones will be able to be controlled by the Air Force. So they're actually saying up to 60% of our Air Force will be unmanned, I believe. Dex, do you want to go over this? 60% is what they're saying.
60% is what they're saying. Uncrewed platforms are set to make up the majority of the Navy's future carrier wings. So they're expecting that all of our carriers are basically going to have drones on them. And even if they're, fighters or anything else, they're still going to be unmanned. It's not just the traditional, I say traditional, but as we think of, the Reapers and the other drone that, they fly and they have a big prop in the back, but they're talking advanced equipment. Think of F-35 style equipment without a pilot in it. There'll be someone in the Air Force back on land that's driving it, or someone on that ship that's sitting there with probably headgear on and some control sticks or joysticks and taking care of business in the air.
You're forgetting one. AI driven, completely autonomous, right? I think that's
for sure.
That's coming in the future. So, like in Top Gun, they pointed it out, but it's true. There's going to be less aces or even guys with controllers. They're going to have those things fully AI in just a couple years, which is pretty crazy to think about. And then Israeli fighter jets strike Hamas weapons facility after violence. 350 arrested at Jerusalem Holy Site. So there's a lot of videos of this over on Twitter. Can't really show any of them. A lot of them are pretty nuts. Just the whole situation. Everybody's screaming, yelling. There's a lot of chaos going on between these two groups, and it's getting worse. The thing is over the last few years, a lot of people have not focused on what is happening in the Middle East, and the focus has turned away from it from, Russia, UKR, China, Taiwan, and all of these other events that are going on. We made sure, even if it was like a week where nothing was happening, no stories about it at all. And I even remember a comment saying like, hey, don't forget about the Middle East. Like there's stuff going on, and that's most likely everybody believes that will be the center of a World War III event. And what was funny is that day I looked up and there were stories that were not put out via AP, not put out by Reuters, not put out by any of the main media, but it was on the Jerusalem Post. It was on others. It was basically only stuff that was there, and for some reason didn't. And these were big stories at the time. Multiple murders and things like this were all going on, and it was high-ranking assassinations, like these kind of things. And we didn't hear anything about it in mainstream media. So I continue to follow it, and I continue to look out. So does Dex. Dex always makes sure to follow all of the stuff that's going on with the Middle East, because I don't think that folks realize how gritty this has gotten just in the last 6 months. Dex, they're like hardcore fighting. Did you see any of the videos that they showed of all of this going down?
Yeah, I saw a few, and yeah, it's a, you've got you got three major events happening in the three different religions that are happening right now, and they're all coinciding, and then it's also an opportunity for people that want to stir up the pot to stir it up, because they know they can do it. And it does, and I'm not going to prescribe what's actually happening, because the news there, it's very heated. It comes from all different angles, but it's very easy for a group of people to go in and cause a commotion and stir up something, even amongst themselves with others, because there's basically three different factions here, from Christianity to Judaism to Muslim. So, and they're all there together, and they're all celebrating at the same time with specific, events that are happening in their religion. And of course, this location is supposed to be shared by all, but it's currently ruled by one. So they're the ones that have to be called in when you need a police presence to take care of a problem, no matter what side it is that's doing it. They're still the ones that have to do it. So when they show up, that causes a problem because they're on one side, right? So it's a really sticky, horrible situation. I wish everybody would, get along, but at the same time, pay attention, because this is the time when these things start to escalate, because these events are used by people to stir the pot or run their agendas, whatever they may be.
And there's a lot of them simultaneously happening at the same time. Lord, lift me so I can reach. Lord, teach me so I can speak. Use me anytime, anywhere. Lord, use me even if I'm scared. Wiregrass preparedness. Nice to see you, and thank you for the support. And I will have to check out your channel. I'm assuming, since you have a channel name like that you have some videos up. I will make sure to go check you out. And then Carol, thank you for the super chat. Marf, Dex J, and the mods. Love. Well, thank you, and much appreciated. Before we're going to go on, there's kind of some freaky stuff, so if you're easily anxious, I'd probably tune out for the next 4 stories, 5 stories, 6 stories, so you've been warned. But before we do, I do want to remind you, make sure to go over, if you do want to protect yourself against an EMP, you can do so at marfooglenews.com/EMP. This is a device that you can wire into your cars, your trucks, your boats, your RVs, even your motorcycles, or your generators, gas generators, ham radios, or even your home, and it will protect those things from an EMP. Not only that, it can protect you from a CME, a coronal mass ejection, or a Carrington level event happens. You would want to either be able to drive to bug out or drive to get home. Or if in the case of the home version, you can actually have it wired in, and it will protect everything within 250 linear feet of where it is wired in. That is the only one I believe you need an electrician to officially do, because of how laws and building codes and things like that. But once you do, you're rewarded with that, where everything plugged in within a normal size house really will be protected, and it will ground the signal in 500 trillionth of a second before it's able to fry your device. This is the same company that's worked with DHS, DOD, and now they're working with the DEMSO team helping protect the Texas grid. The thing is that the government and military, they're doing things to protect their most important sites, but they're not going to protect us. Nobody is going to step out and say, hey, I want to do something for you and protect your car so you can get home to your kids. Nobody's going to do that. Nobody's going to say, hey, oh, I heard you want to bug out. Well, too bad. Nobody's going to protect you. So if you do want to get your stuff protected, this is a Keystone military tested device that will do this. And again, it's 100% American made. It's a veteran owned business. And we've been with them for a very long time. They are really amazing. All of the founders are in our community. They're preppers. They're really, really great people. And again, it is a veteran-owned business. Marfooglenews.com/EMP, and you'll get $50 off per device, and you'll help our channel survive. So thank you guys. We appreciate it. When you go and purchase one from them, not only are you getting a discount, but you are also helping our independent channel at the same time. We don't have a multi-channel network. We don't have backup. We have you guys. So thank you and much appreciated. All right. And then Chinese embassy sends threatening letter to Congress over Taiwan meeting, warns it will not sit idly by. So this is like already the setup for what is going to happen right now. My prediction is that after this meeting, that some things may kick off. At least another round of gigantic Chinese Navy drills. But who knows? This could be the thing that actually starts off this Taiwan event. Dex, do you want to talk about how this letter is essentially saying that they are going to guaranteed do something if they meet? And it doesn't seem like they're not going to meet. So something has to happen.
Well, yeah, and they're calling it a threatening email that was sent to the House Speaker and other members of Congress that are planning to meet with them today. Now, this probably was in the last 24 hours because the meeting was today. We're going to talk about it as we go through all the different things that have happened so far. But just to reiterate, we've talked last week, I believe it was, and even the week before, when these press notifications have come out about this potential meeting, and then Xi gets furious and says don't do it, or has another mouthpiece say if you do it there's going to be significant consequences. So I don't think they can just sit idly by and do nothing, especially with all of that rhetoric they put out there. Now at the same time, I don't know that it'll be anything more than just drills, but the question is how much more are they going to do, and to what level are they going to take these drills? Because they took the last ones to a whole new level and they started normalizing them. So they were happening almost daily. So that's we're all sort of sitting here waiting to see how they're going to respond.
And so we'll see in the next couple days. We're going to have to watch like what is actually going to happen. And it does say the Taiwan president briefed as China sends aircraft carriers near island ahead of the House. This is kind of how it projects. Hold on, let's go back. Taiwanese president declares strong bond between the two nations. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy and Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen declared their relationship between the United States and Taiwan is strong amid unprecedented challenges in the Indo-Pacific region, essentially China. McCarthy and Tsai met at the Reagan Presidential Library in Simi Valley, California on Wednesday, along with a group of bipartisan lawmakers. It says, quote, "Today I'm honored to meet with Taiwan's President Tsai as she transits the United States." McCarthy said, adding that their discussion took place fittingly at the library, which highlights Reagan's belief in democracy and commitment to the ideals of peace and freedom. Blah, 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 whatever their speechwriter wrote them, right? It says those values have always served as the bedrock of friendship with the people of Taiwan, and they are more important now than ever. I believe our bond is stronger now than at any point or time in my lifetime, he added, noting as Tsai is a great champion of that bond. This is a bunch of lip service. Okay, can you just be clear? Are we going to fight China if they invade? Like, that's what they should be talking about and telling the public. It says the Speaker of the House said that the United States will honor our obligations and reiterate our commitment to our shared values behind which all Americans are united. Basically, more lip service saying, we're totally going to do a good thing. If a bad thing happens, sort of, we're going to stand up, but not specifically. We're not going to specifically stand up to China or anything. McCarthy met with Tsai and bipartisan group of lawmakers. Their presence and unwavering support reassure the people of Taiwan that we are not isolated and we are not alone. Everything they say makes it sound like they're going to back them up in the case of a conflict. And most people just assume that. But if you look at other places where the U.S. normally would step up, they didn't. It says, pointing to the regional challenges, Tsai said, it is no secret that the peace that we have maintained and the democracy which we have worked hard to build are facing unprecedented challenges. Tsai in the meeting reiterated Taiwan's commitment to defending the peaceful status quo where the people of Taiwan may continue to thrive in a free and open society. I also highlighted a belief which President Reagan championed, because they're at this library, so they've speechwriters are like, oh yeah, we're in the Reagan library. We got to come up with a Reagan quote. Also highlighted a belief which President Reagan championed, that to preserve peace, we must be strong. I would like to add that we are stronger when we are together. Okay. Tsai also thanked members of Congress for their proposed initiatives that have helped to make Taiwan and our partnership stronger. They have said, and if this was a teenager's essay, they would have been like, we need to stretch it another 10 minutes, saying all the same things differently. Specifically, initiatives in the realm of enhancing Taiwan's self-defense capabilities, fostering robust trade and economic ties between us, and supporting Taiwan's meaningful participation in the international community, and also seek out the shared interests in peace and prosperity across the Indo-Pacific. So, and mind you, while this meeting is going on, we are actually going to, we have ships that are heading there. So, and of course, down here we say, I have to point out that China will not sit idly by in the face of a blatant provocation and will most likely take necessary and resolute actions in response to the unwanted situation. Let's work together to prevent such a thing from happening. So they're saying this is threatening because they're saying, basically, what else does that mean? So what are their measures that they're going to take? And they're saying, let's prevent that. If these were fighting words, they're like basically saying, well, we're going to kick their ass unless, you know, if you want to back out now, then maybe we won't kick their ass. I don't know. Dex, as far as, you know, with this, on top of this, we actually have Navy moving around the world, and our allies are now buzzing. Flight radar is going nuts right now. All of the flight radar people want to chime in with any weird things they've seen, please do in the chat. It seems like something is brewing here.
Well, yeah, and then the day before, we had the aircraft carriers from Xi heading in, so that was starting to spark up. And the interesting thing is this is happening while their president is out of country. Obviously, an opportune time to test, you know, how the country will respond without their president present. So that's you know, kind of interesting that happened yesterday. I believe it was Tuesday. We got this information today, but it was officially yesterday, right before she was headed to today to meet with him, that this goes down. So yeah, there's a lot starting to amp up, and I guess, you know, like I said, you know, we'll probably see drills, but they amped it up significantly when Pelosi went there. So, you know, I gotta believe they have to make a bigger statement this time. So it's going to be interesting to see how big that statement really is with their actions and what they actually do. So, but you know, yeah, this is getting really interesting right now.
Mind you, the most likely scenario that they're pointing out, and this is from all sorts of different think tanks and war scenarios, is that they would not actually attack the island at first, that they would blockade it so that nothing could go in and out. They would surround the island, which is what they practice to do already, that they would encircle the island. In fact, let's see here, I'll just show you kind of what they did when Pelosi visited, right? Surrounding Taiwan. Let's see here. This is kind of a good simple graph here. So they had carrier groups and they had strike groups. This is when hold on, just switched up on me. This is when Pelosi visited, right? They started this thing and they stayed there for a really long time. They were doing all of these drills, And my point was that if they are going to take, and this is 5 little boxes, right? But in reality, all over the island, you could see the lights of these things. They were surrounding the island. They've also practiced actually taking their commercial industrial ships and then tying them together and making walls in the sea with them. They did this thing where they took 200 ships. In fact, I'll just show you that real quick. They took 200 ships prior to this for a different event. Let's see. And they made kind of a blockade wall. I should be using the duck, but these aren't even it here. Hold on. Yeah, they did this, right? Over 200 Chinese militia, and they said that there was military on these ships, right? So they could do something like this and block off anything going in and out, and they wouldn't even have to fire a blow. They could starve the island out. It would be a game of waiting. Dex, do you think that they would surround them and blockade over attacking them? And then they would have to declare like a no-fly zone too, right? That they would shoot down anything. I mean, it would be a huge move. It would be declaring war, basically. I mean, how would there be a way around that?
That would be an obvious thing for them to do if they were actually starting an invasion. I think one of the keys would be to blockade all the way around so that they don't allow anyone in to help defend them, and take the airspace, take the ocean, the waterways all the way around. And that's probably what they're going to drill for. And that's what they already have drilled for. But it'll be interesting to see what, where they go. Like I said, last time they crossed the median line, which is this fictitious halfway point that they've never gone over before. And now they do it every day. It's like now it's the normal thing to do. They intentionally said we're going to normalize crossing that line so that they get used to us being there. So it'll be, what comes next if it's not the start. And now, a lot of people say it's way too early. A lot of people say it's another 3 years before they'll actually do it. Well, that's the date they gave. They would never give a date and then stick to it. They would put a date out there and probably, come in a lot sooner so that they, throw you off. You would not just say, hey, we're going to show up on this specific date, so y'all be ready.
And by then,
that makes no sense.
And by then, we will have, we'll be way further along in making our own chips. If it is about only the chips, right, or some of the other tech that is there, they've even talked about destroying the chip factories there and destroying it. If for some reason they get invaded, that they would basically destroy all of it. If that happens, 80% of the chips come from there. We would still be screwed, because then there would be shortages worldwide of these chips that are essentially in every piece of electronic that we have around us, in our cars, in our everything. I mean, anything that's sold at a freaking sharper image, which a lot of this stuff, a lot of the chips that are used in infrastructure. All of the infrastructure that runs our water and all these things, they all use these chips. So even if they destroy it on their way out, then the whole world is screwed. If they don't destroy it and they take control of this, even if it's for a few months, if China is literally empowered and controls this for a period of time, even a few months, let alone 3 years until we can make our own, or 5 years, they said that we're like 5 years behind on manufacturing these chips. If they do that, if they get a head start like that when they're already ahead in certain tech, it would mean like very soon you would have you would be going to the Department of Health Services, and it would have a flag on it that's not ours. I mean, like, that's how scary this is. Like, they would easily be able to take over the world if they gained so much power for that much time. So there is a big reason why this should be prevented. This is why Japan is turning their constitution on its head. That's why they're getting ready for war. This is going to be war. Even if there's orchestrated things behind the scenes, I think the orchestration is in the infiltration by that country into this country and all of our allies' countries the spying, the stealing, the everything else that's going on, and the people that are in certain offices are basically back channeling back to them. I mean, we have the most powerful general, the most powerful person in our military said that they would give China a heads up if we were going to surprise attack them. You would think he would be on trial and he might even be taken out by a firing squad, but instead he's still here years after it happened. Like there's infiltration everywhere right now. The Million Man, I see these messages all over Twitter, the Million Man Army. There's this thing going, woe is me, about the former president. I see all of these narratives that are like quite obviously a bunch of bots that are pushing it, and then regular people think, oh, everybody is saying this, so, and then they fall into it. Everything that is happening right now is done to confuse us. But I think the main thing, if you look at the big picture, if you do realize that there is a war coming, and if you do get a basic kind of level of preparing done, then you'll be way better off. And I think most people feel a whole lot better once they do. I think my place on this earth, I'm nothing special, but I think I was meant to get people prepared for these things, and not like in a crazy way, but just like I think that we have done a really great job. We prepared people for CV. We saw the patterns. We saw all of the stuff coming out. And by the way, more stuff came out. They knew about CV back in November when they were doing those graphs we showed you. They knew about all of this stuff, and it's just now coming out now. It's crazy that people found that out through us even back in November, 3 months before the world talked about it. All of these things came out. We're seeing the same things, the same patterns. Follow the money. Look at what they're doing. People should be getting prepared for a huge change of everything. Whether we have a war or not, the agendas that they have in place, they want to get them through, like now. Big Balakaton, annual U.S.-Philippines exercise to be bigger than ever. So this is yet another point that they are making everything bigger, and they are doing a whole lot with the Philippines. More than 12,000 U.S. troops from all four branches will join thousands of their Philippine counterparts next week as part of the annual Balakaton exercise in and around the island nation, the largest iteration of the annual event in its 38 years. It says that this year's exercise, which starts April 11th, follows an announcement Monday that Manila will give U.S. forces access to 4 additional bases, all of which face the South China Sea, with multiple sites in northern Cagayan province, less than 400 miles from Taiwan. So on top of us moving ships into the South China Sea, carriers, on top of China, which we kind of, I didn't cover the full thing here, but on top of that, they are actually moving their aircraft carriers. We are also moving a ton of troops under a drill, which again, it could be 12,000, it could be 40,000. They don't have, they can sneak in as many as they want as long as they have something on the public paper, so people aren't suspicious when they see 100, troops coming in. And now they're at 4 different bases, all facing the South China Sea. I mean, this looks like, and then, the contracts, everything got moved up as far as those amphibious APCs. Those are shipping out like crazy. This is something locally that we're seeing here. Local folks here saw these APCs going out of this factory that's been making them. These things have been going out faster than they can even say. So there's, I think, something brewing like right now. But hopefully that's not the case. It's not something everybody should go run and hide under their house. But people should be paying attention like right now. This is getting to the point what we've talked about for years now. And then Vladimir Putin installs perfect replicas of his Kremlin office in residences around Russia, basically saying kind of like what President JB did with the fake White House in this other studio. And they said it was because, well, maybe they just do it wherever he gets lost and wanders into. I don't know, but they're kind of more saying that they're doing this out of paranoia, and essentially that he's trying to stay on the low. Vladimir Putin has built identical copies of his Moscow office in his luxury residences so he can work from home in secret, one of his former bodyguards has revealed. The offices have been designed to look like the same to confuse ordinary Russians and potential assassins. It says that he has offices in St. Petersburg, Sochi, Novo-Ogoyovo, and it says they are identical, said Gleb Karakulov, the former bodyguard who has fled Russia. This is, again, I believe the same gentleman they said was one of the highest ranking people to defect. This is firstly an attempt to confuse foreign intelligence so that there are no assassination attempts, he told the Russian opposition media group Dossier Center. Novo-Ogoyovo is Mr. Putin's official residence on the outskirts of Moscow. Mr. Putin even goes as far as sending his motorcade speeding to Sochi airport while remaining at his residence, which overlooks the Black Sea. It gives the impression that he is flying off. They bring the plane, they cortege rides, but in fact he remains in Sochi. So basically saying he's doing the look at the left hand while the right hand does this kind of thing at all times. Actually this doesn't seem too crazy to me. Almost every country does something like it. They always have 2 Air Force Ones, 2 Beasts. They always have 2 kind of a distract or a copy. But maybe it's kicked up a lot more. But I don't know. The other things that this same guy has said since he's defected, don't know if it's Ganda or not, but it actually sounds like it would make sense considering the position he's in. And then, Dex, do you want to make a comment on this? He's said a lot of stuff. He's basically singing like a bird.
Well, the fact that he's got a fictitious studio, so to speak, set up, there's a ton of rumors about, which time when you see him, if it's a double or not. They say that he makes use of doubles all the time, especially for, meet and greet kind of things with locals or factories or things like that, where security may be a little bit more difficult, but his actual presence isn't as needed. A actor could easily fill in. So they've, there's been that conversation out there. I don't know if it's true or not, but we all assume that most of the leaders out there have some sort of double that they use from time to time for security. And that this is going on. So yeah,
this sounds so made up.
But it is. It's crazy.
Look at this next line. He said that even now, Mr. Putin wants people he meets to have updated VVs and to quarantine for 2 weeks before they see him. They didn't just throw in something that would sit in the back of people's heads oh. Come on, dude. This is that part makes me, they either threw that in there to serve a separate agenda, or this whole guy is just full of crap. I'm sorry. I don't think, yeah. I mean, do they think people don't look at the studies and all of the stuff that's happened in the last 2 years? I can't even believe it's a thing. I don't even, it's so crazy. Anyways, before we move on, go over and check out marfooglenews.com/prep. Why we, again, recommend this is it's one of the most affordable ways to get a whole lot of food at once that is all 25-year shelf life, freeze-dried foods, sealed in Mylar bags, and then in the 3-month kit, then put into buckets as well. So these are made to store, so you can store them, keep them off to the side until you need them. Really great thing about freeze-dried food, when they do it, they take and extract all of the water out of it, which preserves it for, again, over 2 decades. But the great thing is once you add in the water, this is a good way to preserve food that retains almost all of the flavor. Once you add water or cook it in water, it essentially restores it. It brings it back to life. It's really, really one of the coolest ways to do long-term survival food. Of course, there's dehydration, but you do lose a lot of flavor like that. This is the downside about it is that it's not cheap. This is one of the most affordable ways to do it, especially with our code. You get $200 off, and it is less than $600. It's $597 with our code, and that breaks down to about $200 a month. That's 3 months for one person, or a month and a half, 45 days for 2 people, or a month for 3 people. If you're looking at families, if you get a couple of them, you can actually have something that's set aside. You know that that's checked off your list. You have it, and you'll be able to survive, at least food-wise, for that amount of time. Marfooglenews.com/prep. You'll be supporting us. You'll be getting a huge discount, and you'll be setting yourself up. I think this is a much better way to go than any super chat or donation, because you are getting something out of it. Again, you are not only getting something you can keep for as long as 2 decades, but you are also helping us out at the same time. So thank you guys. There's other stuff there too. You can get the Lexapro Pro. You can get anti-radiation tablets if that's something you're worried about. They have all sorts of great stuff over there. Go to the website, check out what they have. If you're looking for the tab at the top, that's where you can find all of the other gadgets and things. That's marfooglenews.com/prep. Thank you in advance for considering it. And then Biden administration sending another $2.6 billion in military aid to UKR. What's crazy to me is that this number just keeps jumping up, and it was such a big deal to even send a few million, and then now it's just jumping every single time they do it. Dex, $2.6 billion. It's like Dr. Evil, like, oh, million's not enough? 2.6 billion. No, do people forget to care now?
Like I said, they're gonna cry and say that there's something missing, and then next week we'll come out with a package. Well, here it is. We have it. The new package, 2.6 billion, may not seem like a lot compared to some of the other ones, but it is still a lot of money. I mean, let's call it what it is. They're saying that 2.1 billion of it is in funds that allow them to purchase things. So basically it means we're giving them a bunch of cash, and only about 500,000 of it is actual arms and equipment that we're sending. 500 million, sorry, 500 million worth. But the other interesting thing is the Pentagon said that they updated their total for the military aid to be that has been given so far as 35.8 billion. But don't let that fool you. The number is actually closer to 76.8 billion. Because according to other reports, we've given something like 3.9 billion in humanitarian, 26.4 billion in financial, 18.3 billion in security assistance, which falls under military, 23.5 billion, which falls in weapons, which falls under military, and then grants and loans for weapons for 4.7 billion. And those numbers I just gave you of 76.8 billion, it's another study that had come out. I think this was published in the end of February. So it doesn't even include this latest round and probably the round in between that I missed that we talked about a couple weeks ago. So that number is just climbing. So we're, anywhere in the neighborhood of 76.8 billion to 35.8 billion, if you want to believe what the Pentagon is saying. But they're just reporting what they've done militarily. We as a country have done a lot more than that.
And it's like at first, the big debate was like, if we would help only in the defensive measure. And then the huge worldwide debate of, well, do we help them with offensive techniques? Like, at first it was air defense. Now it's air attacks. Now it was weapons and defensive measures, mines and things like this. Now, and drones and things like that. Now it is tanks and jets. And essentially, it's U.S. and NATO-made gear flying over and going to direct war with Russia. You have Russia facing U.S. jets, European jets, every kind of jet there's out there now. All of these tanks that are going over there, the Leopard 2 and the Abrams and all of these crazy tanks are over there. It's like they always change things up after they start. If you give them an inch, they take a mile. And it's happened like this every single thing that they've done, especially with our rights and everything else that's crumbling right now, our speech, our expression. It's insane. Dex, go ahead.
I was going to say, grab the link I put in screener. It is from, of all places, the CFR. But they have tallied up all of this in about 4 or 5 different charts, which are probably pretty fascinating for everybody to look at for just a quick second, because it's all relevant to this topic. And it's where I got those other set of numbers I was talking about.
Okay, check this out. And it's an article, right? Is there a graph on down below?
Oh yeah, there's graphs. There's multiple graphs. You got to go through each one of them because they're worth it. They talk about what countries we give recipients of military aid to, compared to what we've done to UKR. I mean, the amount of equipment that's been given, the 76.8 billion, and how that's the numbers I broke down just a moment ago. That's where I got it from. And then the aid exceeding from other countries, like how much we're given versus all of the other countries.
And I'll do this so if the different graphs, you can pause it and look, and I'll slowly scroll here, and then you can pause if you want to look at this. Otherwise, it is available over at marfooglenews.com, or it will be by the end of the show. So as you can see the breakdown here, because I know that you're gonna have to probably zoom in on YouTube. Check this out. So let me stop here. This is what we've sent in infantry arms and equipment. I don't need to read it off for you, but I will zoom in so you can pause this here if you want. This is just so much. And guess what? Most of this, I bet you, we would have not even started to even dig into what we left in Afghanistan. It's like all of that stuff could have went there, right? But instead we just left that there and just burnt it, right? But don't worry, they can just keep making it, right? The industrial complex can just keep pumping out tanks and suck in like a vacuum money. Look at this. So funny that this country, just a few years ago, the whole world agreed that it was super corrupt and was doing horrible things.
Isn't that number crazy that you were just showing about how much we have given to other countries? Which was only 3 billion, but the amount to UKR, it's ridiculous. The number compared to the amount of military support we give to anyone else.
It's frankly insanity. Look at that. Aid to UKR far exceeds that from other countries. Look at this. Let me zoom out so you can see the whole thing here. Look at this. United States, EU institutions, United Kingdom. Holy moly. To UKR. So out of all of this, this is us right here. You see that? That red bar is how much the U.S. out of all of these different people have. Look at how little that. I hate right away. I thought a T-Man, if he was at like a table, he'd be like, "Look at this." He would look at that graph and go, "Look at Austria. Why aren't you giving more? Czech Republic, you need to give some more money. Finland, you need to give some more money." But I don't even think we would be in this position though either. The thing he wants every country to like him. He's that kind of person where he needs everybody to like him, right? So I bet he would have probably done something or worked out something, the art of the deal. But this is insane. Jeez. Share of GDP, East European countries are giving the most to UKR. This website is available on marfooglenews.com. If you want to go check it out, make sure to go do so. You can go investigate for yourself. And let's see here. We've got Russian energy giant boss found perished in Siberian cell in 40th mystery death of oligarchs and Putin's official. I would assume it was something up there, but they actually put a number on it. 40th. We have covered these like every couple days for the last year. Is the mystery perishings, where people have fallen off a lot of people have fallen out of their window. I'm telling you, the Russian hotels should just like automatically put a net up. Kind of like, the Apple factory or something, right? You just know something's going to just fly out that window, so you should just build the net. It's to that point. It says another top energy boss in Russia has been found perished, the 40th mystery death of an oligarch in the country. So if you're rich and Russian, you better watch out. And Finland buys Israel's David sling for huge air defense upgrade. So part of this is something, first of all, they have trenches in Romania. They have anti-tank measures in Poland. Finland just joined NATO, and I can guarantee there's going to be, in the next month, there's going to be things that are coming out and how NATO is actually setting up Finland. But this part is from Fukushima fam members in the military currently serving. They believe that they have already started. Well, they're saying it's happened, but again, and I do believe that they are right. I believe these people that they are already starting trenches in Finland. It actually makes sense. It is not something that will cause such a big stir, but I believe within the next month, and this is my prediction, that we will find satellite pictures of trenches in Finland being set up. I'm pretty confident that this is going to happen. If it doesn't, I will make sure to, of course, in a month from now, if it doesn't happen, which I think it will happen at some point. But if it doesn't happen very soon, I will be very surprised. They are preparing around the borders of Russia all over. And this is 810 miles along Russia's border. So, you heard it here first, because there is no article that says that they have trenches in Finland. That is something, and I hate putting it out there because I never do that. But I do trust the person who said that. And it makes sense. It just makes sense. If they have anti-tank measures and things like that later on, that will probably happen at some point. It makes sense. I bet you the tank measures will get more news than the trenches. But if they're setting up trenches all along the borders, it's most likely for a reason. I think this is heading into a very, very sideways skirt out of control. Well, it will seem like it's out of control, but it's probably all part of some plan. NATO's newest member, Finland, announced Wednesday that it will procure the David Sling medium-range air defense system from Israel. This is the first export customer of the system. So already they've been in just for yesterday? Didn't they just join yesterday officially, Dex?
Or Tuesday, yesterday.
Yeah, they joined yesterday. They already have air defenses coming from Israel. So this is something that is getting up there. It says this is the first export customer for the system. The system, which fires the unique dolphin-nosed Stunner interceptor, is a joint venture between Israel's Rafael Advanced Defense Systems and Raytheon. The acquisition, valued at $345 million, not including value-added tax with options adding up to an additional $236 million, will create new capability for the Finnish Defense Forces to intercept targets at a high altitude. Finnish Defense Minister Ati Kaikkonen said, at the same time, we're continuing the ambitious and long-term development of Finland's defense capability in a new security environment. Basically saying, we're in a new world. This is something that's going on. They are loading up the entire surrounding Russian borders with not only weapons, anti-tank, trenches. It's really clear what's happening here. And people will deny it up until the very last second. Like humans denied death, there's going to be a chunk of people that even after war between multiple countries is on the front page, we have declared official war on this country. People will go, it's not happening. Kaikkonen's comment about the new security environment is likely a reference to Russia's ongoing full-on invasion. Well, no duh. And his nation's new role as the 31st member of the NATO alliance, which became official yesterday. One of the biggest takeaways from the conflict in UKR's inability to defend against missiles like the Soviet-era Kh-22 supersonic cruise missiles, as well as a very limited defense against short-range ballistic missiles, namely the Excellender M. They're building this up, and it may be just so they can pump money into the industrial complex, and all of these industrial military complexes are just making money over hand and fist, and their CEOs and their chairs and all of these rich elites and former politicians that are on these damn things are making money hand over fist. But they are also they're preparing these borders, and it almost seems like maybe UKR is not doing as well as we think. That could be an option too. That could be the hypothetical that they know UKR is going to lose, and it's going to keep going, or they know because they're going to force it to keep going, or they're going to do something that gets a retaliation, or they're going to start it with the Fantastic Freddy event to get us into a war. Once a war starts, it's going to be super easy for them to put in all sorts of laws, acts, bills that are going to change and make all of these crazy agendas that are supposed to happen in the next 7 years. All of those will be super easy to put in after this. Dex, what do you think about the defense systems going up in Finland?
I think they're everything just changed when they joined NATO. Everything changed with their posture, and they have to do this. They have to now be in a position where they can defend against the equipment that comes from Vlad's country. So I think this is just the first. We'll probably hear more deals and more equipment, more technology that they're going to want to buy, and probably they're getting access to it now as being part of NATO. Probably gives them more ability to purchase things that they may not have been able to get before.
So I really do wonder, how fast this has picked it up. Them joining NATO, I think that this just sped things up a whole lot. I mean, we were waiting for so long for them to figure out if they were getting in, if how fast they were going to get in. Now they're in, and the first day they have air defense on the way. Why do they need defensive stuff if it's going to stay to UKR? And then our first look at the Altius 600-meter loitering munition detonating. Dex, do you want to talk about the new drones?
Yeah, so this is a new type of system that was recently tested, and it's being delivered to UKR. And it's a loitering drone, and it can I want to say it's pretty lightweight too, like 20 to 27 pounds is the overall weight. But this picture you're seeing in here, and there's a video, you guys can go watch it if you want to see it, but it's basically showing it's hitting a container as a target and doing a really good job of making a direct hit. So this will be another potential, I don't necessarily say it's a game changer. We'll have to see how it plays out, but this is something new that's going into UKR's arsenal, and giving them some pretty significant capability from an autonomous drone point of view, as well as from loitering, and being able to hang out and then take out an asset or take out a target.
Does it say anywhere if this thing? So this is it takes its own self out. It's like a bee. Once it's struck, it's done, right? Or can it drop things from it? I didn't get that from the actual Altius website or the thing. Is the actual drone the explosive? I know it can hang out, it can fly above until it sees its target and then hit it.
Yeah, it's a one-way mission, as they call it. It goes up to 276 miles, and it can hang out or loiter for about 4 hours. So that gives it plenty of time. And I don't think that I don't know if they had the price in here. I can't remember what the costs were on these, but these are really small. We're talking 20, like I said, 27 pounds, I believe. And I guess it also depends on the payload that's on it, how much it actually weighs. But, but the payload of being anywhere from 3 to 7 pounds. So anywhere from that 20 to 27, 30 pound range of a device. So it's not that big, probably not that expensive to build as well. But yeah, that's a pretty decent distance, a couple 270 something miles and 4 hours of hang time.
Think about this compared to the old days when you had to have a scout go out, then if you did do something, you had to have exact coordinates. This thing can go ahead and take lives remotely. It can be launched from a terrain vehicle, so it can be launched from a tube. It can be launched from a ground launcher, or it can be launched by a helicopter. They can drop it out. And then it says that they can be operated together as a networked swarm. That is freaky. So you could see 100 of these things working in chorus, and they all hit a different target. They could all have a different kind of mission. This is like something out of Angel Has Fallen. I think it was Angel Has Fallen where that happened, the Gerard Butler movie where they showed this kind of system in work. But yeah, that's a huge capability, and it's offensive. They can go in and take out people and piss off the bear. So we'll see what happens there. And let's see here. Before we talk about ChatGPT, this is unfortunate that it's answering the questions it is. Go over and check out marfooglenews.com/energy. If you don't have a generator, I would highly recommend one, whether it is one from us and from Energy or whether it is a gas-powered. Either way, you should be looking into alternate sources of power. We've talked about why a million times. But if you want one of the best, then you would go with any one of the three that they have to choose from. Actually, it's four. They have the LT as well, which is a smaller, kind of a huge battery bank type, the LT. But the Flex 1500 is the one that I use, and I actually use the X2 almost as much now because it has a built-in battery. But the Flex 1500 can be extended up to 96 batteries. It can be modded. It can be changed. It can be modded into a UPS or uninterrupted power supply system. It can be taken with you, or it can be set up as an actual home solar system. So again, make sure to go check it out. marfooglenews.com/energy. You will get a special discount with the code Marfoogle, and you'll be helping us out at the same time. To be able to have a silent power source that you can't hear 3 blocks away, to be able to have power from the sun and not have to buy $5 a gallon gas or store that gas is a huge, huge advantage. Go over to marfooglenews.com/energy. Thank you for helping in advance. The new tactical, that is definitely the most baddest. You will be waiting on that because that is a pre-order right now. And that was actually designed with the Air Force Research Laboratory. So they actually directly designed this one with the help of the U.S. military. It is definitely one of the most badass solar generators on the market. All right, and then ChatGPT AI lists jobs it can do better than humans, as millions could be put out of work. So over the last couple of weeks, we've covered how Elon Musk and a bunch of others signed something that said that they need to stop development, anything beyond ChatGPT 4, because of how dangerous this is and how fast it is snowballing out of control. We also covered other experts not only said that, they said that Elon was wrong. They didn't say he was wrong as in like, he's wrong about what he was saying, or this list of people that signed that said that they need to have a 6-month pause on developing this stuff. These experts are saying that they are way off, that they need to stop it either indefinitely or for much longer than that, because they're not going to be able to figure it out. In fact, I believe they said that they would need like 30 years to figure this out without destroying ourselves. The entire system of how the world works right now is going to change if we keep going down this road. Just realize this. If you are a creature, a creature of comfort, and you have a routine and you just kind of do the same thing every day, that's going to change a whole lot faster than you think. This is going to put out so many people out of work that the actual world structure is going to have to change. And they already know that. They're projecting what they're doing with that. How they say in the future you will own nothing and be happy. I'm assuming we'll have just some sort of drip that will make us our dopamine high or something. I don't know. We'll be in VR on dopamine drips or something. But it is going to change a lot faster than people think. Dex, being our tech expert here, can you explain why it's kind of scary in the first place that ChatGPT is the one answering this?
It is. So this is an interesting experiment. So it's an outplacement company, which is also an executive coaching company called Challenger. What they did was they asked ChatGPT a series of questions, including what jobs can ChatGPT replace? And it came back, and basically the answers it was given were the fields according to the bot included like anything that was language related, predictable, repetitive, stuff like that. But they specifically said fields like customer service representatives, translators, interpreters, technical writers, copywriters, data entry clerks. So that gives you just a general idea of what they got back from ChatGPT. As it's saying, it could easily do those jobs better than humans. Not just easily do them, but do them better than humans. So then they went and looked at the Bureau of Labor Statistics and looked at the number of jobs that are out there that fit into those different categories, and they easily found 4.8 million American jobs that it could replace. So that's kind of the scary part, and that's just with this current Chat GPT, let alone where this technology is going to go, say 6 months from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now. It'll be astronomically different than what it is today. So yeah, this we're just looking at the introduction of this AI capability to the public. Now, mind you, a lot of this stuff's been going on behind the scenes, but this is the introduction to the public in the commercial world. So it's going to, anything that's in its infancy usually follows that hockey stick curve, that up and to the right, everything just advances so quickly, and then it starts to plateau and things level out. So just keep that in mind. Like, this is going to go quickly. And that's why people like Elon and others are suggesting that we find ways to do a moratorium and sort of slow that curve, to use a phrase that we were all too familiar with and we don't like. But literally try to, knock down that curve that's going to happen with this technological advancement. Just like every other technological advancement, it jumps quickly.
And it's not only going to go, I mean, think about how long we've had ChatGPT, and everyone that's been exposed to it has been just blown away by it. But also, it already can do things that are just unbelievable. Like the CNET. CNET was, they did 70 plus articles basically written by ChatGPT and then told the public about it, which I think is pretty screwed up, but they did it. I don't know why they told, after 70 articles, why would you do 70? Why wouldn't you do like 5 and say, hey, did anybody notice? They did 70. It's almost like somebody was going to leak it if they didn't say it. But they said, oh, yeah, it was just, we did it because we wanted to show you it could be done and then talk about it because it's a tech thing, right? Yeah. But the fact that is happening right now, and think about all the people that have been exposed to it, all the people that could then use this to then create. The thing is capitalism is a great thing, in my opinion, and where there's this free market and people can come up with things and make it better. With this as a tool, the ways that people can go down this road, and everybody is going to be trying to get the next thing or trying to get the next, kind of Facebook or Microsoft or big company or big invention. Unfortunately, us humans, they think about the short term, but they don't think about the long term or how it could affect the entire world. There's going to be these small companies that make robots, and they're going to go, well, we actually utilized ChatGPT and we utilized it with our robot technology, and we've made it to where these robots can now replace every minimum wage worker. We can replace construction workers with these robots that we used, and you can even talk to them and they can deal with customers and all of this. This is happening way faster than anybody could have ever imagined. And the fact that it's now open to the public and people are able to use this thing, it's insane. This is not going to be good in the long run. I am among many that are saying, stop this right now. Put a cap on it. Come up with rules, oversight, or anything else. But that's not going to happen. This is all part of the plan. And it's freaky to think that they're now making deep fakes and fake voices and AI voices that are going to be a human. You're going to watch a human like me, and it's not going to be a human. It's literally going to be a robot. And luckily that hasn't happened yet. Yet. But it will. And it's already being done. You think, oh, I would never watch a digital creator. What if you can't tell it's a digital creator? That's what's scary. Yobi, thank you for the Ninja Genie. Let's get Marfoogle news on the Easter egg donation list. I don't know if that's an event over on DLive, but I'm always down to do also any kind of event. Majorly Stoned says birthing pains only increase in frequency and intensity. Stay prayed up, family. And then thank you for gifting out 5 badges. Mage Lee Stone. Thank you. Johnson, 100% Mo. Thank you so much for being here. And then thank you, Cognitable, Yobi. Again, good evening, all. Evening, buddies. Kaka, Scooby-Doo-Doo, right? Thank you so much. And Gajzor07. Thank you for following over on DLive. Thank you, everybody that is in over on Rumble, and for the YouTube fam, thank you guys. Dex, you wanted to go back to AI for a second?
I was just going to make another comment, on the, not the flip side, but the partial flip side. A tool, when you think of something like ChatGPT as a tool, it's actually going to introduce a lot of people to some of those jobs we just talked about that couldn't actually do them. Like someone who couldn't do copywriting or technical writing could now actually use a tool to do it, and they could then be introduced to that job. Now, that hurts the people that are doing the job, because now anybody could do that job because they're using this tool. So that, on one hand, it displaces people who have a specialty, but on the other hand, it then creates a whole lot of opportunity for other people to get a slice of that pie. And obviously, it'll be a lot less of a slice, but that's the type of evolution that's happening here. But it's happening so fast, and when you think about, it's one thing to think about taking out 4.8 million jobs. It's not that far out of the realm of possibility. And I'll use this as an example. I just thought of it in my head. Imagine if ChatGPT was loaded with all the medical information and everything that was needed in a hospital with a nurse. You, as a nurse, may not, while there's a physical side to what you have to do, there's a lot of things you have to know. But if a system could know those things, you could actually hire somebody with less knowledge that follows what a system is telling them to do. And all they have to know is the physical part, like how to put an IV or something in the arm. So all of a sudden, people that have had these jobs that were very specialized, that they went through a lot of training, they've had a lot of experience in, can now be displaced by people that don't have to have as much training because they rely on a system to do it. And at its simplest, it's almost like, the days of before there was a calculator. Like, you wanted somebody that understood math really well, but now that we all have calculators, you don't need somebody that does math in their head. But it is a problem that we have to deal with. Dex, and it's not, I'm not trying to say it's a good thing. And then I'm not discounting the whole it becoming sentient and going to the next level, because that's the scary part.
I know, but Dexy, and you've always used the calculator thing and said that, well, at one time we didn't have a calculator, but that calculator couldn't write your essay for you, and that calculator couldn't replace your job. I get what you're saying, but this is going to happen so fast, and temporarily they will. So say somebody that wanted to code, usually you have to go through classes and learn how to code digitally. Well, what if it's got simpler and the platform that you had to use said, well, I want ChatGPT. Basically, they would be able to go in and code a whole website and even give it purpose. They would just have to tell ChatGPT what they want it to do. And then ChatGPT would work alongside with another platform, possibly one of these other AI photo platforms, and then be able to design a website or even design an app. So then you wouldn't need a specialized coder. You wouldn't need somebody that learned how to code. You would just need a regular Joe, just like a job at McDonald's. A high schooler could walk in and they go, so you need to, today I want you to design 3 websites. One of them one of them is going to be this, this, and this, and here's the parameters. You just need to type it in and it will do the rest. That kind of thing will happen, and I believe that will probably bring the pay down, whatever else. And yes, it could be like a calculator, but we're talking about transformation that is so vast and so fast that it's going to literally take all of these jobs out of people don't even think about it. And there's always the thing like, well, this is an evolution of this stuff. I don't think this is a good evolution at all. And a good evolution would be world peace. Some sort of evolution where we stop fighting over stupid things like being on the left and right. But an evolution where with the same people in charge, the same messed up, corrupt people, and then this system, they're going to utilize it to make the poorer poorer, the richer richer, and there will be no middle. It'll just be, it's Snowpiercer. Dex, we're going to be eating, they're literally already doing it. We're going to be eating the bricks of cockroach bars, and they're going to be in the front of the train.
I'm not disagreeing with you at all. I'm just making a statement that there is this in between that happens where this technology levels playing fields and other people take advantage of it. Whether it's good or bad, it happens. And like I just happened to see a comment from Ray the Way, and this exact thing that he's saying, a friend of mine did. He used ChatGPT to write his resume, and his resume went from, like, as Ray the Way says, didn't get any hits to now all of a sudden he's got more job offers he knows what to do with. And that's exactly what happened to my friend. He used ChatGPT to create the resume, not write it completely from scratch, but to go through and say, like, how do I say this better? How do I make myself look better? What are the qualities that people look for in this type of job so I can, create a resume that appeals to somebody for that type of job? And boom, he instantly got a lot more traction with his resume. And that's how, in one form, this tool can be used, but that basically is taking away from professional resume writers, because there are people you could pay good money to that'll write a resume for you that's just like that isn't using AI, but you pay them for that service. You can pay thousands of dollars. Some people pay $10,000 for them.
But they won't use resumes anymore. It's not just putting out the resume writer. Then all of a sudden, within a year and a half, every single person has an unbelievably perfect resume. That's the thing. Everyone's going to have a perfect resume. And in fact, a resume might stand out in the near future. Some old schooler, like, and it's crazy. I'm not old, but I feel like I'm stuck. It's like, the people in the 50s that are yelling, no rap music. I feel like that now. No TikTok, no this, computers. I feel like that every day now. But it's like the person who's going to have a resume that has a spelling error in the future might actually stick out to go, let's hire that guy. Because they're going to get 40 resumes with perfect everything. And you're going to be able to tell what AI did and what a human being did. And there's going to be people like me that go, I don't care if he has a mistake. It's kind of like the movie, great movie, by the way, about the Granite Mountain Hot Shots, where the guy in the fire team gave the guy that was messed up a chance. It's like, I would go for that guy over the guy with the perfect resume and the firefighter type of guy. But yeah, I don't know. It's something that the thing is yes, temporarily, like Ilea says, I ask ChatGPT to write all my professional letters, and it's super helpful. Ilea, I'm not saying I disagree with it. It's really cool. All of us can see where it's really cool, and all of us, guaranteed, even if we criticize it, probably will be able to be like, oh, I could use this for this, and might use it. Temporarily, it is okay. It's great. It's awesome. I guess I'm not short-sighted. I am not impatient about where this is going, and it's really scary where I don't think it's possible it could go that way. It will. It will absolutely take away jobs. It will absolutely change the face of the earth. We are now in a technological evolution, and we just hit a world milestone. And because it happened incrementally, people are really not understanding how big this is. This is going to change our lives overnight. Dex, go ahead.
And one last point I'll make. I'm not trying to argue at all. I'm looking at some of the shorter versions of this. I know the long term of AI is scary as hell, and I totally am on board with that. It's why I got out of the tech sector a while back in my life, because I knew where this was going and I didn't want to be part of it. But specifically, when you talk about coding, one of the biggest challenges we face in the world right now is a lack of coders. There's not enough software developers out there, but the amount of software we need is growing. Think about it. Like 10 years ago, you went in the store, there was electronics, but it wasn't as much software related as it is today. Now you go in and everything has an app, everything's interconnected. You can't be a company and not have the need for a coder. Let alone all of these other things that are being built that are all software driven. So this whole, and it was a joke back during, they were talking about the displacement of people. And I think one of the politicians, it might even have been JB, said, oh, everybody needs to learn how to code. Well, in reality, it's kind of true. A lot of people who are losing older jobs that are no longer, being in need anymore. There is a huge need for software developers. So if a tool like this comes along And like you said, anybody can write code, which is true. You really can. You could really ask it to do stuff like that in small segments. And there's other tools that are out there that are like it to do that. But it will eventually allow a lot of other people that don't have an income or have lost an income because their sector has been phased out, maybe in the oil industry or in the mining industry or something else, to all of a sudden be able to start getting into a technical industry. So those things, there are some benefits, there are some positives on this that you don't want to just completely throw the baby out with the bathwater, but don't keep your head in the sand and not pay attention to the most important stuff about where this is going tomorrow. Today it's kind of, fun and interesting and cute, and you can make pictures and videos and you can get things to write things really clearly for you, but it's that next level that gets really scary. And I think that's what Elon and others are saying. Hey, we need to back off right now because it's about to jump.
We're not disagreeing at all. We're not arguing whatsoever because we are completely on the same page. The next page is where everything gets scary. At first, when I see a digital ID for every single IP out there, I see that when the deep fakes are so real and when the voice is so good and they're already there, when they match up, you will have people, just regular Joe, that, a high school kid could go home, eat his lunch, and then make a video of the president saying that we're going to war with Russia that's so real, you will not be able to tell the difference. And once it gets to that point, then there's going to be these restrictions and things coming down. Basically, it's just going to change everything. Maybe it might end up really good. Maybe we can have faith that it will end up well. But I don't know. If you're in my camp, it's almost like it kind of seems like we're Rome and we're at the end times of things, in my opinion. But even if it wasn't, in my opinion, end times, if this keeps going and we stick around until, 25, 50 or something, everything is going to change. And they're going to look back at history when AI became a thing and not just a sci-fi thing. And they're going to say, this is when everything changed. And that's kind of... it's kind of wild to think about that we are living in this right now. Ilea, thank you so much. Thank you. Much love, Ilea. I know many of my friends have gotten into ChatGPT and done so many cool and things. Like I told you that my other friend though, he's had tons of issues with it, like being frankly racist and kind of a bigot to him. But I think that was the third iteration, not the fourth. So I don't know if it's changed. And then Ray the Way, not going to lie, I used to chat GPT to write a resume for jobs when I got out of the military. Before, my old resume rang no bells. Indeed, after I got so many job offers. That is awesome, though, and really good for you, Ray the Way. All of us deserve a good job. And then LAPD SWAT 1 says, I've got an old PC tower. I'm hanging on to them because of the chips. It's actually not a bad idea. So, anything electric. Look at how those SNES games, Nintendo games, some of them are like thousands of dollars now. VHS tapes are starting to get valuable again. But I get what you're saying. More for like the actual chips will be valuable, right? And then Stephen McMahon, thank you. Chewy Weather. Stephen McMahon says, Old Joe will not fight Xi if he invades Taiwan. Another, maybe the biggest reason that Xi will strike soon. Oh, to do it under Joe's reign. And then, good evening, Fukushima fam. Chewy Weather, thank you. Ryan B. says here. Well, thanks for checking in. And check voicemail and 2 emails, FG in subject. Okay, Fall Geeky, I will. 2 voicemail. Okay, so you did it at the Marf number, FG. Okay, I will. Hope everything's going well with you, and I hope you're doing great. And then Carol, thank you so much. I appreciate that. To Harvey and Dawn's ulcer, everybody that made it here tonight. Thank you guys. Thank you over on D Live, Majorly Stoned, Skyhouse, The Amazing Drop. Great conversations, great people in our company tonight. Thank the mods by going over to marfooglenews.com/friends. And then Dex, let's go over the web only. We've got some pretty crazy stuff, including exorcist stuff and all sorts of other wild stuff.
There's certainly a lot going on. Head over to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or the easiest way to get there, open up the description on YouTube or Rumble and just click on the show notes link. It's there every night for you. It'll take you right here. Scroll down to this yellow bar. That's after you've covered all the news that we just went over in the show, and you'll get to the overflow section. That's what we're talking about, the rest of the story. So lots going on. A recent update that's not on the screen, but Bob Lee, who is the Cash App founder, was taken out today, unfortunately, in San Francisco. It's a big shock in the business world to people like Elon. His company, Cash App, is owned by the company that Jack Dorsey runs. So a lot of the tech CEOs are kind of like, hey, what's going on, with safety in that town? Because obviously there's been a lot of issues with crime building up in SF. So sad day for them. Sorry to hear about him passing. That is there. We do have coverage across the spectrum from things like what's going on with the changes and the shifts in the tornado and what they were calling Tornado Alley, what's going on across UKR. We've got a lot of that updates that are in there in addition to what we've already covered. We do have a few more things about OpenAI and ChatGPT and the scrutiny they're facing in Europe. Marines are doing some specific escape training around underwater escape training. So if you want to learn about that, that's there. Man, if you were a Delta pilot in a hotel room, I feel sorry for you. Apparently the feds decided to bust in to the wrong hotel room during a training exercise and actually held this Delta pilot captive for about an hour before they realized it was the wrong room. Man, imagine waking up to that. Kind of a scary moment. Of course, everything going on the political spectrum, man, that stuff's all over the news. It's kind of crazy that the news cycle is just so inundated with the events going around T-Man and all of that. That's covered, as well as, again, more information on what's been happening in UKR. And then if you're looking for longevity, there's a couple of articles about how you can increase your brain power, and they interviewed people that have lived to be over 100 and what they did, what their secrets to a long and happy life were. So all of that and so much more, it's right there on the website. It's the rest of the story. Go to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or open up that show notes link down in the description. It's easy to get to. We put it together for you every night.
Thank you, Dex, and thank you for your service tonight. I appreciate you.
Hey, much love. Great job, brother.
Thank you to the mods. You guys, thank you so much, Aaliyah, for holding it down there. All of the folks over on YouTube, over on Rumble, and over on DLive, thank you guys for making it tonight. Make sure to share us out with a friend or family member who hasn't seen us yet, if you can. That is more valuable than any donation or affiliate purchase. Make sure to share us with somebody that you would think would like us. That would be really much appreciated. If you can, press the like button if you found this valuable. If you feel we've put work in, or even more work than the next, then please press that like button. It is much appreciated, and it helps in a way. I do believe it does help. They have switched the algorithm so many times, and I do believe comments help. So please make sure to comment down below and say hello, or even just comment to say something that you feel to the rest of the Fugle fam. A lot of conversations go on down there between even just Fugle fam. I've noticed I'll see 50 comments back and forth between Fugle fam just catching up. So I'm okay with that. Have a good night, guys. Thank you so much. Dex, thank you. Aaliyah, thank you. All of my mods down there, thank you guys. Truth Iris, Thane McWin, and everybody else. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. Where I say thank you to the people that matter most to you. Much appreciated.